And I was due a good cry, so thank you for that. It just happens when I come here. So I've been on the road. I've been doing some things. And so I want to tell you about it before we get started. Well, I guess this is part of it. So I'm starting with this. First of all, I attended the annual summer teen camp that CSL hosts in Idlewild, California. That's up on top of a mountain about 6,000 feet at a place called Camp Buckhorn. And this year, 380 teenagers showed up from all over North America. And what energy. Let me give you, this won't even begin to give you a sense of it, but that's some of them. There's a whole section on the right they couldn't get in the picture. But they were amazing. Their energy was extraordinary. They were there to learn. They were there to teach. One of the coolest things about summer camp with CSL is that there aren't any adults teaching. They're not facilitating it. The teens run it. Cool. And they plan it, and they put it together, and they do all the work. And there's adults there, of course, they're the advisors. But they are definitely, the teens are in charge. The teens make it happen. It's an extraordinary leadership team of teens. And then, of course, one of the things they do is they get to name the event, and they called it To Infinity and Be One. That clever? So it was absolutely amazing to be with them. One of the things that we did that really captured my attention was an exercise, and they do lots of exercise. Believe it or not, it's almost like crafts. But they go around and come up with these things that they do, and the one that got me was called Love Tag. And the idea was they got together in their groups, which are 6 or 8 people, and they made these things called love tags, and they look much like this. Just a regular old chain and what looks like a dog tag, but it says on there. Let's see, Summer 2015 CSL Teen Camp To Infinity and Be One. And then they put other little things on there to express love. And what they did was, if there were 8 people in their group, they made 10 of them. So that everybody got one and there were 2 extra. And they had to find 2 people to put them on, but everybody had them. So they just started going around, putting them on around each other's necks, but the instructions were, don't collect them. This isn't about receiving them, although that's lovely. This is about giving them away. So every 30 minutes, everybody agreed, at least once in 30 minutes, that you would share your love tag with someone else, and not just put it on them, but tell them how much you love them. Can you imagine all the love that was going on? It was overwhelming. And it was like, who do I put it on next? Who do I do next? And you put it on them, and after 2 or 3 days, it was like, hey, I love you. You calm down. But it was such an extraordinary thing. So I'm sure I can't have all of you experience that today, but we really need to start, because I've had this on long enough. So, Mika, I want you to know how much I love you. How you take care of things here so beautifully. Keep our practitioners in prayer work. And I love who you are. I love you, John. Don't keep that too long now, okay? So that was the experience of teen camp. And of course, I left teen camp in the middle of it to go to the INTA conference in Phoenix. This was the 100th Congress of the International New Thought Alliance. This is an old organization that we're getting some age on this as a movement now. It actually started before the first Congress. It started in 1899 in England. And now it found its way to Mesa, Arizona as a headquarters, go figure. But it's an amazing organization that is just rich in its history. And we met in Phoenix, in Scottsdale, at a regular old hotel, but the people there were extraordinary. We had amazing people that presented, and I had the opportunity to present. And just to give you a sense of what it's like, across the top, people who have influenced New Thought. Yes, I believe that is Plato on the left. although he was never actually in an INTA meeting. But you could probably say that for several of these people on the left. That's Emerson, who never used the words New Thought. He was a transcendentalist, but strongly influenced us. And if you work across, you see Mary Baker Eddy and Emma, and the gentleman with the high white collar and the tie is Thomas Troward, who was a president of INTA and was Ernest Holmes' teacher, and that's Ernest next to him, Matthew Fox, and then the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman, who passed away last year, made her transition into the next reality, a great iconic leader in New Thought. And there are many organizations involved in New Thought, but these, I just thought I'd give you a sense of the main ones: Science of Mind, Unity, Divine Science, and Secho Noai. Ever heard of that one? Well, you should, because that's the largest New Thought movement in the world. Secho Noai, the last one there, it's in Japan. They have 1.4 million members. They have more members than the rest of New Thought put together. Yes, I know. Started by a man named Dr. Taniguchi. And his inspiration was Fenwick Holmes, Ernest's brother. He read a book that Fenwick wrote. And it changed his life, and he began his teaching. Secho Noai means a house of growth. And it's a very successful, extraordinary movement that I really admire. So that's the kind of thing that I was hanging with while I was in Phoenix. And what else did I want to tell you about them? Oh yes, that one of the interesting things that they did was a time capsule. Because it's 100 years old, they thought, well, let's have a time capsule and put stuff in it that'll be opened in 100 years. So I put a Science of Mind magazine in there. I thought that seemed appropriate, and I put a love tag. Yeah, so somebody's going to pull that 100 years from now and put it on and just be filled with love. Isn't that great? Yeah, that was fun. So we are a part of a great movement. I mean, even beyond the Science of Mind, we are in this with wonderful people and a lot of amazing things. Okay, so back to what we're going to talk about today. And it is about New Thought. It seemed appropriate. Let's talk about this idea of New Thought around the idea of this 100th Congress and the good work that we did. We had great speakers. We had Barbara King from Atlanta. We had people from just all over the place that just gave us wonderful messages. And it was good to be there. And what occurred to me in the midst of this was that we get into this. And I don't think we often think about what we want to get out of it. You know, we come to a place like this center, and we know it feels good, and we know there's important things. But I'm not sure we set clear direction for what we want to get while we're here. So if I asked someone in this room, and I'm just being rhetorical with you, don't shut up, what it is you wanted to get here, I would imagine that one of the quick answers would be happiness. And I want you to know that I wouldn't accept that, because you don't have to wait for everything to be just cruising along in your life to be happy. The trick is be happy now, right now. Don't wait. So there's no progress or process to come to a place where you can be happy. So that's not the one. What is it that we want to get to a place in our lives where we have embodied this teaching enough? What are the elements that are there at that point that we can count on? And I came up with 4 of them. I just sat with it long enough to think about what they were, and I came up with 4. So I want to offer those to you today. I think that when we get fully engaged in this thing called New Thought, we are connected. And I think that's based in this concept of oneness. This idea that really, even though we all have what look like separate lives, then we're not separate at all. That we are constantly engaged and interacting with one another. That we are constantly learning from one another. Even the person that cuts you off in traffic is there to teach you to be patient and flexible. That person's there to do that. They are not a pain in your backside. The question is, can you see that? And what I believe happens is that at a point of connection, you can. And instead of cursing them out or shooting them a one-finger salute, you could actually just say, thank you, or be well, or something that doesn't hook you into their actions. You know, and life's full of those kinds of opportunities, but if we live at the level of our average day-to-day activity, we don't easily or naturally remember our oneness. When something goes badly in our perception, we call it bad or wrong or evil or whatever it is. I was actually standing in front of a TV. I walked up and there was another minister standing there watching a monitor in the hotel lobby in Phoenix. And they had just talked about the 4 Marines that were killed in Chattanooga. And I said something like, well, what's happening in the world? And she looked at me and she said, perfection. And I thought, thank you for pulling me right back, because I got reactive and jumped into it. And she pulled me right back into remembering the truth. And that was really important. And the idea is, let's get to a place where we can do that for one another and be with one another that way, to kind of hold ourselves up into that high consciousness of remembering and not fall into despair over anything, no matter how challenging it may seem in the moment. God's in the midst of it. That's the oneness we live with. So that's connection. That's the idea of oneness for me. Being responsive is tied right in there. What I learned early on in New Thought in metaphysics is that practical metaphysics requires that we never be reactive. Doesn't get us to the place that we want to go. But that if we are living in that connected state of oneness, if we're getting what life's about, our interaction with life is responsive. Like the minister that was standing next to me. She responded to my flippant remark clearly. She responded. She didn't react to it. She didn't go, well, that's wrong. Because that would have been me being in that state and her joining me in that state. Where in the situation of what was there, she lifted me up by reminding me of the presence of the divine. So our work of being able to respond to whatever happens without being reactive, looking beyond what is on the surface, finding God in the midst of it, allows us to have that high level of consciousness that we seek. And if you're living in a responsive state, if you're engaged in life and responding to what's happening, chances are you're doing it from a place of happiness and joy and knowing who you are. And if you are reacting to the experiences of life, even flippantly for a moment, you're falling back down into the valley. So the work is that on a natural, momentary state, that we all can hold that high level of consciousness and respond to life by remembering that God is all there is. Remembering that all there is love. Even when it looks to the contrary. I think that's incredibly powerful for us. And I would say that by doing this, we must stay in a state of being self-referenced. We cannot find good out there. We cannot be jealous or envious of what somebody else has. We look at the point of us. How am I doing at living the life I've come here to live? How am I doing at being the one that I've come here to be? That's the work, always. And not from judgment. Never from judgment. Simply being self-aware. Being in that place of knowing who you are and acting like it. Is that right, Charlie? When we do that, when we are responsive, when we are self-reflective to life, self-referencing to life, we find God every time. And when we falter, and when we call something bad, or we say, I don't like this, it's okay not to like something. It really is. I'm not telling you you have to like everything. This is not a kumbaya moment. This is simply saying that we make our choices clearly. I love that line in your song, Carl, where you said, don't take me, don't invite me. You know, brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, if you're going to go to hell, do it. You gotta have to do that by yourself, because I don't go there. You know, we do that lovingly. There's absolute an opportunity to learn at every point, every time we do it, to play that high game. That's where I believe that we're going. Let's see where we're going next. God, this idea of integrity is so important in my life. And not that I've got this one down, but this is my intention. To have a life where what I'm thinking and what I'm saying and what I'm doing are the same. Boy, you know what? It sounds hard, but once you got it down, it's so easy. Because there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to rethink, there's nothing to I mean, that thing in the points of power, you know, tell the truth and tell it quickly. If you're living in integrity, if what you're thinking and what you're saying, what you're doing are the same thing, it's so easy to speak the truth. Because it's never mean, because we're living in a responsive state. So we're not going to do things that are mean or reactive. We're responding to that high level of understanding. What a great way to be in the world. And to be able to do that without even thinking about it. That what the thought is in our head and what comes out of our mouth and what we act on is the same. I've always said, for that, no one else can look at you and judge you. They can say, well, what you said and what you did are different. That's true, they can. But they don't know what's in your mind. Only you do. Only you know what those thoughts are. So you're the only one that can lift yourself up to an integral life. And I believe that this teaching calls us to that level of being in the world. That level of honesty, that level of clarity. I believe that's where we're going. And finally, I believe there's such value in living a balanced life. I see so many people that go off in one direction. The 4 pillars of life, for those of you that haven't heard my little speech on this: health, wealth, relationships, and self-expression, what you do in the world. 4 things. Everything fits in those. Nothing you do or have in your life is not in at least one of those. And the trick is, can you balance the 4 of them? Can you take care of your health? Can you make sure that you're living a prosperous life? Can you be in loving relationships that are honoring and respectful? And can you do something purposeful, meaningful in your life? And can you do all of them? That's the work. Of course you can. The question is, are you? Because it is a constant balancing act. Because you look at me. I can't tell you that I'm in balance. I'm putting more right now into my experience of being in the world and doing my work than I am in being a good husband. I admit that. I mean, not that I don't talk to Barbara 2-3 times a day. At least I do every day, no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing. But I'm not here. And I know that's out of balance. And I'm working on it. And we've got a plan. And it's getting better. It's going to get better in a few weeks, once this long thing is over, summertime. But I'm working on that, and I'm aware of that, and we talk about it. And we talk about how important it is for me to be here. When I told the story of Christian this morning, it just opened me up. That doesn't happen to me out in the world. So I need to be here. This is important for my well-being, for my balance, to be in this room, to be sharing my heart with you and to be listening to who you are. And so I'm seeking balance in my life. And that's how this one showed up on my list this morning. So these are the things that are important as I see it in life today. And I hope there's something in there for you. That somehow in your seeking to find the essence of why you come to this place is about staying connected, knowing the oneness of spirit, responding to life, not reacting, being in integrity with everything that you think, say, and do, and balancing your health, wealth, relationships, and self-expression. If we could do those things, wouldn't the world be amazing? So let's work on it and keep working on it and support one another. The basis of what brings us together is to love each other into that state of being. That's who we are. That's what we do. We are students of New Thought. We are students of the science of mind, and we are using these principles for a better life right now. That's who we are. I love you all so much. Thank you.